Alright guys, what's up? It's your man LS Villafane, and today I am just going to be briefly talking about the movie Nope. For those of you who don't know, Jordan Peele, he originally made the movie Get Out, he also made the movie Us, and now Nope. This is Jordan Peele's third movie, and all these people these days are saying, oh man, he's fallen off, he's just not as good. Get Out was good, but Us was trash, and this was trash. They're saying he's declining. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just delusional, but it sure seems like we're seeing different movies here. I don't necessarily think Jordan Peele is declining. I think he's great. And, the thing that sucks is a lot of people, since Jordan Peele came from a background in comedy, a lot of people like to point that out and say, oh, you should stick to comedy. It's almost like his background in comedy invalidates him as a filmmaker, which is the weirdest thing ever. I don't know why people feel the need to do that. It doesn't matter what your background is. I mean, look at Todd Phillips, He made the Joker. Everyone freaking loved the Joker movie. He had a background in comedy, and it doesn't matter what background you have. Some people are, some filmmakers, they study psychology and they get into filmmaking. I mean, look at like James Cameron. He's like a marine biologist. He fucking went down into the Mariana Trench, and he's making movies. He made the fucking Titanic, right? It's like, it doesn't matter what your background is. The whole point of filmmaking is you can't just be a filmmaker who really loves movies, unless you're Quentin Tarantino. Generally, filmmakers, they have an emphasis on something outside of filmmaking, and that's what contributes to their style. So for those of you who are saying you should stick to comedy, I really feel like that argument makes no sense at all. But anyway, getting into the movie, I have some points on my phone, nothing too formal, just a little casual breakdown of the movie and some things I liked and some things I thought could have been better. It'd be nice if I could unlock my phone. Come on, man. iPhone 8, baby. That's right, I have two iPhone 8s. My old one died, and I bought another iPhone 8 because I like the home button, because I'm a boomer. So number one, this movie was shot on IMAX. Now, for those who don't know, usually an entire movie is not actually filmed on IMAX cameras. Usually you just use IMAX cameras generally for, money shots, and whatnot. And the interesting thing is, I don't believe, now I might be wrong, and that's totally fine, but I don't believe that a movie in the horror genre has ever been filmed on IMAX cameras before. And I say horror, quote unquote horror, because personally I feel like this was a thriller movie, not a horror movie, but I understand why people say horror, because he's a horror director, and you just kind of put it all together like that, so I understand. But this is really interesting because, so IMAX cameras, they shoot on film stock with it's a disgustingly large aspect ratio, right? And when you're dealing with those huge aspect ratios, you have to follow certain requirements. For example, whenever you decide to shoot a scene with an IMAX camera, you actually have to have an IMAX certified director of photography come out and, work with you on the camera, because there's certain rules. Generally, within the frame of a shot, it's kind of a rule of thumb, like the eye level should be in the middle of the frame. But when you're shooting on IMAX, since it's such a big aspect ratio, it's actually a requirement where instead of being eye level in the middle of the frame, you actually have to have the top of your head be in the middle of the frame, to leave enough headroom. And the reason why they do that is because since the aspect ratio is so big, they don't want the audience craning their necks, looking all the way up on the IMAX screen just to see a close-up, right? Because they don't want you craning your neck, which personally I think that's kind of a stupid rule. However, in this movie Nope, it being a horror thriller movie, it actually makes sense, because you will notice, for so many of these shots, there's just an uncanny amount of headspace. And considering the main threat is literally a UFO that hides in the clouds, this is a really good decision by whoever the director of photography was. Even for the scene where they're at kind of that rodeo city place, I forget what it's called. It's you have all the buildings and people in like the lower third of the frame, and then like the rest of it is just like blown out into the heavens of just like fucking clouds and stuff. And it just, since you know that the enemy lurks in the sky, it's like at any moment, you know what I mean? It's just like there's too much negative space. Just fucking hell, it's torturing me. All the negative space provided by these aspect ratios. And some of you might not know what the fuck I'm saying. Like, what the hell are we saying? The aspect ratio? But anyway, moving on. Let's move on. So, the actual flying saucer thing, spoiler alert, it's not an actual physical ship. It's an animal. It's like an animal that feasts on humans and organic life forms and then goes up into the cloud, and then it just hides there, and then it poops rain. And it's pretty freaking cool concept, honestly, because one of the biggest, like, things with UFOs was like, one, why can't we get a damn picture of it, right? Well, this movie explains it. It's because it stops all of the electronics, even cell phone batteries, which is why you can't record it. Second of all, how does it move so fast and quickly without making sound? And that's because it's like a big flying bird, and it, like, you know, it lurks around like a bird, and it eats, and it doesn't have a motor because it can literally fly. Some people, I heard some crazy theories, they were comparing it to like a biblically accurate angel or demon or something like that, and I thought that was cool. But yeah. There was a scene where there was like a filmmaker, I forget if he was supposed to be a cinematographer or a director that they previously worked with in the beginning, but he was actually filming using an IMAX camera in the movie as they were shooting the movie with IMAX cameras, which was like IMAX Inception, like crazy stuff. I also really liked how the symbolism in the movie really directly contributed to the plot, which might not sound like anything at first, but the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of times in movies, like, sometimes you'll have some lazy exposition where they'll bring up this detail that no one gives a damn about, and then it ends up not really having anything to do with the movie. But every single symbol that you saw throughout the movie ended up coming in at the end. Like, even the most simplistic aspect of like the well that could take pictures, you know, when you look down into it and you crank it in, it takes a picture. Even that ended up being like, you know, the money shot at the end where they're trying to get the picture of the alien, right? Like, even like the inflatable dude, right? They had a good amount of shots that were just like the inflatable arm guys and the inflatable Glen with the cowboy hat. Yes, I called the rodeo guy, Glen. I kind of forget his name, but I know that it's Glen from The Walking Dead, so I'm just going to call him Glen, right? When you're framing shots, like, most people, you know, they might think like, okay, this is in the shot, so what? But it always means something. Like, I'm pretty sure that inflatable Glen cowboy dude, like, I'm pretty sure he got a pretty good amount of shots where it was the center of attention, but we didn't say anything about it. Additionally, I think that there were a couple shots where it was the only thing in frame. It's like, you can't just have an insert shot of something and it doesn't mean anything. It's always going to mean something. And yeah, that ended up being the thing that released into the sky that ended up killing the alien. So good on their part. Also in the trailer, you know, you're constantly seeing the wacky inflatable tube arm guys and the horses and all that, and it's like it all actually meant something. They used the wacky inflatable guys, you know, as bait for the animal, right? And additionally, the horses were a good method of transportation since the alien turned off all the electronics. Everything was like super intentional from the start. Even in the beginning where they were doing like that, you know, shoot with the horse, that's how they met the filmmaker who ended up actually meeting them and then filming the segment on IMAX. Now, of course, getting all the film, you got all the film of the alien, and then of course, I don't know, he started speaking in tongues and just sacrificed himself, which I think that was a little bit cheap, but I understand why they did it. You know, we got to move the plot along, right? Going back to Glen, don't worry. I know that he died in this movie, but I guarantee you, he probably just slipped under the dumpster, right? Basically, he was on this TV show from the 90s where like a chimp went crazy and killed a bunch of people. I like that concept. However, considering Glen was like a supporting character, I don't know if constantly jumping back and forth between his present and his past was necessary, considering he wasn't actually part of the main cast and considering his storyline wasn't the main storyline of the movie. I know that it's best to show and not tell, but I think that might have been the one scenarios where it might have been better to tell, because I feel like our brains could have done a lot more imagination than showing us, straight up CG monkeys, killing people. Now, while I was watching this thriller horror Nope, I kept getting this sense of nostalgia, and I couldn't tell where the heck it was coming from. Now, it wasn't until the scene kind of like halfway through where it's dark and where it was nighttime and it was misty, and you had the Corey Hart song, I think, I wear my song, that song, and he was like peeking up from the van and looking above him, and the freaking alien was just chilling there, and then he closed the door real quick. Like, that was freaky, okay? And then eventually, he got out and he didn't look at it. Then he's like hurrying, for his family and the fucking security dude to hop in the truck. That scene hit me like a truck, and I realized I know what this nostalgia is coming from. That, that scene that I just described, that is something straight out of The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock. That's what I was thinking of. And if you haven't seen The Birds, you should really watch it. That's like the OG, like, aerial horror movie, right? And I realized, man, I was getting bird vibes from this entire freaking movie, and I kind of love that. I don't know if that was intentional, but I assume that somewhere in production they might have talked about that, considering the supernatural element of the birds in the sky, and then another alien-like monster in the sky that preys on people below it. But yeah, all in all, I like the movie. I know that the horses were like kind of a big selling point of the movie. That was, supposed to be a big archetype. Although the horses did contribute to the plot, like I said, how you were able to transport on them while the alien turned off the power, I feel like it would have been nice to see a little bit more chemistry with the horses, maybe. And I get it, different horse trainers have different relationships with their horses. By the way, you might have already noticed this or not, I watch a lot of movies, and sometimes character names and faces, they just kind of go right over my head. I'm more of a premise guy, so I apologize. I'm not using like the appropriate names for anyone right now, but I know that you had the brother who was kind of our silent protagonist that, strictly taken over from the father, and then you had the sister who was real basically. I think the sister was kind of like the highlight of the entire movie. I think that I don't really know, but I feel like the movie could have worked if it was just a sister. However, in order to really get into the brother's mindset, I feel like it would have been nice if we could really see more of the chemistry between him and the horses. After all, there were many instances where the sister was trying to get out, but he was like, I gotta stay and feed the horses, right? So, horses, they're quirky, they're weird, they have personalities. I would like to see, maybe a little bit diving in more with the horses and the chemistry of the horses and their relationship with it. I feel like that would have been cool. All right, and that's about all I got. I know that this was kind of casual and all over the place. I didn't write a script for this video, but sometimes I like just sitting down and rambling and, just seeing what you guys have to say. Hopefully you got something out of this. I like rambling about movies. Hopefully I was coherent, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.